account of the God which was covered therein and inseparable therefrom. I separate the natures, but I unite the worship. Consider what this must mean. He who was formed in the womb of Mary, was not himself God, but God assumed him asamzit, i.e. clothed himself with humanity, and on account of him who assumed, he who was assumed is also called God. Schaff gives the translation of John 2:21 from the New Revised Standard Version repeated here with context. Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. The Jews therefore said, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou raise it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. John 2:19-21 New Revised Standard Version. Where did the concept come from? 83 Nestorius's understanding seems to be somewhat akin to what Bart Ehrman terms separationist ibad, pp. 170-171. He describes this as the human Jesus being held to be distinct from the divine Christ who temporarily dwelt in him and enabled him to work miracles, abandoning him to face the crucifixion alone. More than one group held this understanding, or something somewhat similar, including the Gnostics. Just this brief review makes it clear that the concept of Jesus as God was not universally accepted in the early church, and there was a variety of interpretations in circulation then. Certainly, if the Council of Nicaea of 325 codified the doctrine of the Incarnation and declared other understandings heretical, there were other understandings with enough followers to precipitate such an action. The myth of God incarnate. Theological examination. In addition to the historical aspects of the divinity of Jesus, there are the theological implications. The whole doctrine of Jesus's divinity has been thoroughly examined in the Myth of God Incarnate ed. J. Hick, Westminster Press, 1977. This important book is not readily available now. Therefore, I have quoted a bit more extensively from it. One look at the list of Christian scholars who contributed to this collection shows that it is not a radical fringe among modern theologians who reject this doctrine of incarnation. This book was authored by a number of careful and highly qualified theologians, listed here with the credentials they held when the book was first published. Don Cuppett, University Lecturer in Divinity and Dean of Emmanuel College, Cambridge, UK. Michael Goulder, Staff Tutor in Theology in the Department of Extramural Studies at Birmingham University. 84. Development of the Christian Doctrine. John Hick, H.G. Wood Professor of Theology at Birmingham University. Leslie Holden, Principal of Ripon College, Chudston. Dennis Nineham, Warden of Keble College, Oxford. Maurice Wiles, Regius Professor of Divinity and Canon of Christ Church of England, S. Doctrine Commission. Francis Young, Lecturer in New Testament Studies at Birmingham University. From the Preface of the Myth of God Incarnate Ibid, p. Ix. The writers of this book are convinced that another major theological development is called for in this last part of the 20th century. The need arises from growing knowledge of Christian origins, and involves a recognition that Jesus was as he is presented in Acts 2.21, a man approved by God, for a special role within the divine